Hi guys. Happy Tuesday. So far I don't have anybody on our virtual call while I record this, which is totally okay. We all got so much stuff going on right now when it comes to just kind of the state of the world, stress levels and adjusting to all the different things. So I just wanted to still do a recording anyways for those of you that I know sometimes watch these at a later date or reference back to them. So hopefully we cover all the basics. We're going to go through stuff we've pretty much done before, just a little bit different flow. We did a lot of lower body and like from the back down last week. So as promised, this week we're going to do a little bit of focus on the upper body, a little bit more throughout the whole flow today. So we'll hit some chest throwbacks that we haven't done in a bit. We'll do some functional like arm circle type movements just through the fascial plane. We'll do a little bit of wrist stuff instead of just throwing it into something else, because there are things that we could do every time. So even if we'd done stuff all last week, it wouldn't even hurt us to do a lot of this stuff every week anyways. So I'm going to throw some basic ones and nothing super new, just because I don't have people to give me feedback if there's anything that is questionable or uncertain, and you guys are just getting to watch this on recording. So we're just going to go through some basic stretches today. And if you end up watching this at a later date and have a question about something, go ahead and send me a DM or something about it, or Angie or Greg would probably know what it is as well if you had a question. So yeah. All right. If you want to get started, we're going to do some arm circle type things and some retractions with our shoulders. If you have a PVC pipe from the gym, go ahead and start going through whatever your normal kind of around the world pass-throughs, maybe some ArcPod slides if that's what you like. You can totally go through those if you prefer using that PVC pipe. Otherwise, these are all things that you don't need a prop for today. The only thing you will need a little bit later is we're going to be using the wall. So I'm going to be going against the wall or the door frame to stretch through the pecs and stuff. We haven't done this one probably since the first week or so, some of these since the first week or so that we started doing the mobility class. So anyways, that's all you'll need today. So let's get started. Okay. So go ahead and stand up. You want to make sure that you have space to reach your hands kind of out around you, especially if you have a PVC pipe. Okay, so we're going to go out to get some activation through the back side of our shoulders. So I have my palms face up, and then I'm just going back and retracting through. You don't have to have your arms way high. You can if you want, if you feel like playing around with different angles feels good, or like a stretch on your pecs. I just kind of go right in the middle and pull back. I feel like I get the most stretch and I get some heat going that isn't just in my upper traps. So I'm going kind of from midline back. So I'm not just going forward. I'm trying to make myself go back into that stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and add some circles to it. You can go whichever way you want. These are small circles. Again, heating up through the shoulders, and then switch directions. Okay, and then ones that I think Angie is the one who does this a little bit more often than not. Greg might too, I'm not sure. But where you kind of go in opposite directions. They don't have to be big if they're small because of your coordination skills. That's fine. But I'm going forward and backward at the same time. So I'm kind of crossing in the middle. And if you kind of make yourself think about coming back to that point, it makes it a little easier. And then go ahead and switch directions. Here's the trick, because you probably have one side that's better than others. Okay, go ahead and relax. I am super lit up through the mid trap for me and a little bit in the upper trap, and that's okay. Just getting some heat going, because I feel like our mobility is better when we have muscles active. So the next thing you're going to do, we've done this one before, this is going to be individual arm circles, trying to go through the entire range of motion that that joint capsule lets us. So to start with, you're going to bring your hand some kind of forward and down, right? So as it goes through, you're going to internally rotate as much as you can, reaching across and through like you're trying to almost squish your pec across, almost try to skim your nose on the way up. All right, so you're going through, reaching up, 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 and then I reach up towards the sky, and as I go up towards the sky, I let my hand turn. So if I'm like this, right, so I had my thumb down, palms turned out, reaching up. As I get up here to reach backwards, my thumb points to where my palm is now facing the ceiling and behind me, and I'm reaching as far as I can. And then as I come back through, I'm basically going around my leg, right? So it's as if I bring my palm to tap my leg and then flip my thumb down to go back up. Now that I gave you that nice long lengthy reminder of kind of what your arm and what the joint capsule is doing, let's go through 5 of these. So 1, 2, if you're someone who wants to go really slow and really reach, that's fine. 3, and I'm trying to get as big of a circle, like as if I'm exhausting every inch of that joint capsule in my shoulder, forward and backwards. Let's do 1 more. And if you only got through a few, but you were taking a lot of good time, that's totally fine. So my arms fatigued from that, but I do feel like it got a little bit of stretch to where it's not pulling as much in my pecs. Everyone's different depending on what they've done lately. I'm gonna switch sides. So again, I start with my hand at my side, my palms facing inward. Then I bring my thumb and I roll it in. So I'm rolling my shoulder in. I'm bringing it across, trying to really kind of skim along my chest. Like I'm trying to almost skim my nose, reaching up to the sky. And then as I come back, I'm opening my hand up into that open external rotation, coming down, and then I bring it back in so that my hand comes back at my side and rounds through. You might notice one side doesn't get as far as the other. I don't care on this one. If you take your body from the side, if you're going and you're really opening up and some of it's coming from your hip, that's fine because it's still allowing you to reach for the biggest part of that shoulder complex. So as long as you're trying to reach as far as you can get, there's no right or wrong. If you can't get to a certain end range that someone else can, that's fine. That's why we're doing this one. Okay, let's go ahead and do 2 more. One more. And if you want to take a little more time on this one, go ahead, okay? If you have pain, clicking, popping, stuff like that, you have on one side that you don't have in the other, maybe talk to somebody about it, right? Or back off a little bit if you know that there's a reason why and you're actively getting something treated or rehabbing it. Still going through whatever your possible pain-free end range of motion is a good thing. It keeps things moving. It keeps your body adaptable, okay? So there's moving through all the portions of the shoulder joint. Now we're gonna actually try and integrate moving the scapula, right? So your shoulder blades. Okay, so coming down to the ground. If you want to add a little bit of a burn or a challenge, you can totally do this in a plank position. Okay, so if you want a little bit of like heat going through your core, or you feel like mobility is boring, add some spice and make this a plank. Otherwise, you can go on all fours and you're going to sink through. I really want you to sink down, right? So it almost will feel like passively that your shoulder blades are pinching towards each other. Okay, from there, I like to throw in a little bit of neck stuff. I like to throw in pushing out kind of like turtleneck and then retracting back. And I don't get very far because I'm not pushing up and through yet. I'm just doing it while my shoulders are in a collapsed position. Okay, then I'll do the same thing, but I push up, around just the top part of my shoulders, the top part, spreading those wings apart. So you'll notice if you watch kind of right here, you can see a little bit of shadowing where my bra line is. You can see that as I push those down, all of a sudden, my back rises above the level of my shoulder blade. So I'm pushing up there. I'm not rounding my low back to do it. Some of you might have a really hard time disassociating those two pieces. Whatever gets you to really stretch through the top, I'm fine with that. But eventually try to play around with doing it on its own and then maybe add in low back and then take it back out and sink through. Whatever you want to do. A lot of you don't have a pull-up bar or a rig or anything to tie something up to that you can use to do scapular retractions and work. So using the ones on the floor in that scapular kind of push-up, quote unquote, okay, because you don't have to be on all up in a plank position. You're working through getting that range of motion. So go through those. If you haven't been this whole time I've been talking about it, keep going through it. And then at the top, throw in the head moving forward, chin-wise, and retracted. Play around with that and then go back down and do it again. Why not work with your neck being able to move independently of what your shoulders are doing, right? You can even turn it if you want when you're at the top. You can turn it at the bottom. Whatever works for you, but just try to get things moving. And then lastly, the other thing I'll add in a lot of times, especially if I'm not having to hold a plank the whole time, I'll start doing where I round forward with it and backward with it. So notice I'm not rounding up my low back. This is still rounding and depressing my shoulder blades. So it's not just up and down, right? I'm also rolling them forward like I'm shrugging almost, and then depressing them down. So you can see the wrinkles in my shirt activating from my lats, helping me to depress my shoulder blade. So when I'm in a neutral position, I'm not all the way up, I'm not all the way down. I'm just playing around with movement, and you guys can have fun with that, whatever you want. Go ahead and rest. Wrists got hopefully a little heated there too. There's a method to my flow and madness here, if you can tell, okay? If you've been sitting at a computer all day, hands are probably sore, wrists are sore. Or some of us just struggle with compression on the wrists anyways, because we haven't been doing as much CrossFit in the gym and workouts that involve like handstand push-ups and all burpees all the time on hard floors, right? We've been doing a lot of stuff on carpet and grass. Make sure you take this time right now to work on those wrists. So we're gonna do something specifically for wrists instead of piling in and everything else now that it should be heated up. We haven't done this in a bit, but let's go ahead and stretch through here. And then we're going to drop the elbows down. So I have backs of my hands touching each other, and then I'm just bringing it up. I'm not lifting my shoulders with it. I'm letting them stay here. I'm just bringing it up. And then from there, I kind of play around with what my fingers are doing because those also stretch a little bit. Doesn't have to be super deep of a stretch. Okay, then from there, I'll roll out. I'll roll in. So playing around with that. Just throwing some little things to make you move your wrists a little bit differently today. If you start to get tingling or numbness from this, be mindful there is nerves that run under here, right? A lot of people will talk about the carpal tunnel, right? That's the tunnel that goes along your carpal bones, and there's nerves and things that run there. So just don't compress too hard. If that starts to bug you, right, back off a little bit. Next one, go ahead and go up. So this time I'm pulling my hands down because my palms are facing each other. And again, I play around with what my fingers are doing because that sometimes stretches through my palms. Some days I do this and I feel it all the way up to the elbows. And then we're gonna go rotating out and in from the body. So there's that one. And then now that we've done the basics of that one, we're gonna do a little bit of pinning and mobilizing it ourselves. So you're just going to pin, okay, so you're not gripping down like a claw. You're just kind of finding that area that's tender, feels like muscular, right in these areas. And I'll pin on there, especially if I don't have a lacrosse ball or anything, or I'm even in the middle of a workout where grip is really high demand. I'll just kind of pinch this part of my arm to a tolerable level. And I just go basically fingers up to fingers down. And you can even add rolling it into a bit of a fist, whatever you feel, but it just feels like it's a nice little self massage. And then go ahead and flip your hand, palm facing up, same thing. So now fingers are still starting up. I do that pinch, but you'll notice I'm on the inside of my arm. If I were in regular anatomical position, I'd be on the inside where my palm's up. Okay, so I'm bringing it here, thumb starts up, or fingers start up, pin, and then open. You can even start with a little bit of a fist if you want, and then open. All sorts of ways depending on where you're most sore to play around with it. Okay, let's go to the other side. If your other thumb is bugging you because you were pinning and we're not as conditioned to do this, we're more conditioned to do this, then go ahead and you can always give a quick rub to that meaty tissue right there. Sometimes that'll make it feel a little bit better. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top of the arm with your palm facing down, okay, thumb inward. You're gonna squeeze that area with your fingers up and then stretch down. Fingers up and stretch down. So I'm just kind of pinning and stretching, a little self-massage in this area. When you don't have a lacrosse ball, or like I said, you're in the middle of a workout, you're not gonna stop and go do your mobility and do your rollout, but like, oh man, I need to be able to grip that kettlebell or something like that. We've been doing a lot of dumbbell work and home work, right? You can just do a couple of quick releases. If it feels like it's cramping, might feel nice, okay? So little ideas there. And just hit a few spots along that. And then go ahead and let's switch the other side again. If this was the anatomical position, if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But if your palm's facing up, we're going to what's now kind of that inside part of our forearm. And we're gonna, again, start with fingers up. We're kind of in a fist, pin that area, and then open. Pin and open. Or you can start with fingers up and open. You don't even have to make the fist. Everybody's a little bit different. And again, I'm not doing a claw. I'm pinning, and I'm not trying to go for a lot of pain. Just find a tender spot or a spot that feels tight to me, right? And go through it. This is a nice, gentle way to just kind of get some of that tissue moving. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, next thing that we're gonna do, since we took that full range of motion here, we did a little bit of shoulder blade and shoulder girdle, we're gonna do another opener and stretch with using those same patterns of movement, but to get the chest, and then we'll finally move to doing it against the door frame or the wall. Will be our last ones for today, just because there's not a ton of people on. I don't wanna run into the next class. But these are good ones to just focus on, and they're real simple, and I don't want to provide so much that people have questions. So this next one, we're going to move this down here so you guys can see lower to the ground. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to lay down kind of on our side, and then I have my knees out. If you're someone that really wants to get a stretch in the low back today, you can always take one extended, one up to you. I like to do this because it forces me to get more out of my chest, and I don't get to use my hips as much to cheat through the movement. And then I'm going through here. We've done these ones before. I'm going to let my head relax on the ground. If you need a pillow underneath because you have an issue with your neck being to the side for that long, that's totally fine. Take care of yourself how you need to. I want you to be able to relax. And we're going to do that same kind of going all the way around the shoulder girdle that we did at the beginning. We were doing those big arm circles, but we're trying to reach up as far as we can and down. And notice I get a little bit of slide in my knee, but my goal is to try and keep my leg this way. That's why some people like doing it like this, because they get more stretch in the back. Okay, up to you guys. Just reaching. We're just trying to get you opened up from sitting at desks, being at home, all the stress we're holding in our shoulders, reaching up and open. And then when this arm's down, you're also getting a little bit of a posterior shoulder stretch. Some of us more than others. Go ahead and switch directions. Going the other way. Again, same thing, rules apply as the other one. If you're feeling crunching, clunking, pain, or apprehension in this, maybe back off a little as to how wide you're going, how fast you're going, or can go see somebody, right? If you're not sure about what's going on with that and it's making you nervous or really painful, that might be some reason to go see a professional, okay? Good. And then the last part, we're going to reach across and open. You're going to try to reach behind you, but not taking everything with you, right? You're going to try and use that as a stretch, breathing into it, and then I pattern it back over. I extra reach because then I get a little stretch on the back side, and then I come back. Okay, so what that looks like, if I'm extra reaching, I'm here. Here's hands meeting, and I reach over a little bit, so I get a stretch on the top back side here, because it feels good for me, because the ground holds the other side. Then I open up. I'm taking my eyes with all of this. I'm looking at where I'm taking my arm. Just creating a nice, like, consistent pattern for my body, telling it where it wants to go. Reach, reach, reach. Good. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Won't make you look at my back side on this one. Okay, so now this arm's down. These legs are forward. Again, if you want to, drop this leg straight, bring this around. It's fine. Everyone has a different opinion on how you do it. At the end of the day, if you're moving and it feels good for you and is a position you haven't been doing lately and you've been getting some movement that you hadn't had, then you're succeeding for the purposes of what we're doing with this. Reach up and open. Again, I'm following my hand with my head and with my eyes. I did it automatically the first set as I was talking to you guys. I just want to make sure that I remind you that that's what I'm doing so that you guys do that too. Reaching. Sometimes I even like get a little extra stretch through the circle if I feel like a tight spot. That's completely up to you guys. Let's go ahead and go the other direction. And open. And let's go ahead and do a couple reaches. So I reach, so here's my other hand, I'm reaching past it. And then opening up like I'm drawing a bow. as in bow and arrow, not like tying a ribbon, just in case people get confused. Sometimes we're very literal, seems nowadays. Reaching forward, let's do 3 more. Reaching open, you can let it hang there for a little bit. And 2, and I'm watching where I'm going. Maybe I'm adding a little bit to this side. And then last one. And then on this one forward, I'm gonna give myself a little extra stretch because I feel it. Perfect. Okay, now, shake it out if you need to. I'm gonna turn this, okay, so that you guys can see. Ooh, nice hair after all that. I'm gonna open up the door, okay, and I'm gonna put this guy right here. My dog may or may not come in, just so you are ready for it. So if you have a door frame, is my favorite thing to use at home. If you're at a gym eventually, you know, if this is something you're ready to do, you can use the side of a rig or a pole that you can lean against. You can also do it just against a regular wall. The reason I like the door frame is because it gives you a chance to kind of lean in or away, or to take your arm in or out. So if I was here, I'd be able to move my arm and rotate it up and down while I'm pinned in. So that was an example of like what's going on this other side of the door that you guys can't see in this video, that you can play around with. So first, I'm just gonna kind of hang in here, and I can turn into it a little bit. Be mindful you're not overstretching the front of your pec or feeling it pull or up into your neck. Okay, so I'm braced here. I'm not just hanging out in the end joint of my shoulder. I'm being nice to it and using it to really stretch the chest. If I were to try and roll my shoulder forward, it starts to hurt. So I make sure to keep my shoulder blade down and back, and then I turn into it so I'm stretching the chest. Okay, sometimes we get caught up in trying to see like how far can we go, and we round our shoulder forward, and now we're not actually stretching the chest. We're pulling on that joint itself. So keep it open, keep elbow pit up to the sky. If this is a bigger stretch for you, that's fine, but notice I'm still keeping that shoulder down and back to do it. Okay, up to you. And then the other thing that you could do if you're on the door frame is that you can add a little bit of resistance in. Sometimes if we're next to a wall, right, it makes it really hard to add resistance because it blocks us. We're here, like I did with my foot, I can step in and add that resistance past the plane of the wall. So just play around with that. If you're on a wall and you can't add that resistance, you can push into the wall. So if my arm was against a wall, I'd push into it and resist so that it activates this guy, and then I'd relax it, right? So that'll sometimes help deepen the stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. So I'm going to turn this way on the other side of my door frame. And then again, I'm able to turn and deepen that stretch a little bit. My shoulder blade staying down and back. If I wanted to go straight, same thing. I'm not rounding forward. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that from here. I don't have anyone tell me yes or no. But you get the gist. Take some time to stretch your pec. If you need to deepen the stretch, you can raise it up a little bit, right? If it needs to be down a little more, it protects the shoulder. Up to you as to where you're feeling it. And again, you can intensify the stretch. I like door frames because I can step forward from them. You can lengthen it a little if you want to get a little through the bicep. Up to you guys. Okay, go ahead and relax. So super simple one today. Very, very simple. If I were you, I don't want to take up too much more time based on just them getting ready for the other class and all of that stuff, because I waited a little bit longer to start recording. But the other one that'd be really nice if you have time, so I'll show you it, but then I'll end the recording and you can camp in it, because I urge you to spend some time there, is the one that I love, which is kind of like down dog, but against the wall, right? So you're like this. Let me see if I go like this, you can see kind of my hind end area, right? So I'm pushing flat up against the wall, and then I'm sinking myself down. So I'm getting that nice sink here, and I don't have to lock my legs up, which sometimes in down dog, having to hold our weight bearing helps
get a good activation, but not as good of a sink through the shoulders because we're trying to hold ourselves up. So play around with that, sinking through here today. And I would work again, play with the neck, forward, backward. You can do some turns, play with it while you're sinking through. Maybe you bridge up for a second and come back down. So I encourage you spend, if you're watching this at home, spend another 2 minutes, set a timer, playing around with that one, maybe even move it down to a child's pose on the ground. So that would be my finishing move for you guys if you're doing this at home without me. But yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Stay tough, stay strong. We're all in this together. We're a wonderful community, and I can't wait to see more of you in person. All right, guys, much love. Take care of yourselves and each other.